Chapter 2, Wonderland. The only time anyone looks at me is when I draw pictures. I want to draw the things I would like to draw, but the only time anyone looks at me is when I draw what they want me to draw. Even so, I'll still draw. I'll put my wishes into it. If I do, my wishes will come true. I can hear someone knocking at the door. Someone has come to see my drawings. Who are you? Are you the person in my drawings, or are you someone else? Goofy came through the door ahead of Sora. Gosh, did we go backward? He wondered, looking up at the ceiling. The spacious room they had come into looked very much like the room they had been in before coming to Traverse Town. I think it's a little different, though, said Sora. Are you sure? Donald looked all around, taking in the surroundings. It did seem at least like the marble flowers occupied slightly different positions. So, did you enjoy meeting the shadows of your memories? The voice addressed them suddenly. They turned to see Batman in the black cloak standing there. Sora glared, holding the Keyblade ready. It was good to see everyone, but what do you really want from me? We met illusions of our friends. It wasn't actually them, and anyway, meeting illusions made out of my memories, it feels like somebody's messing with my memories. Sora didn't like it one bit. The man stared hard at Sora from beneath his hood. Just then, a strange presence came, as if the air trembled. Hello? A moment ago, no one had been standing beside the cloaked man, but now there was another man. He wore the same sort of hooded cloak, but didn't hide his face or his bright red hair. His eyes were sharp and fierce, and beneath each eye was a little blue mark like carnival makeup. What do you want? The hooded man asked, sounding unhappy about it. No hogging the hero now, the red-haired man replied teasingly. Are you guys working together? Sora demanded, tensing. But they ignored him, and the hooded man tossed a card to the redhead. Then, perhaps you'd like to test him. Perhaps I would. The red-haired man smirked, and the other promptly disappeared into thin air. Hey, wait! Sora ran toward where the hooded man had just been standing. The red-haired man moved right in front of him, practically blocking his way. My show now, Keyblade Master. He looked down at Sora, a smile at the corners of his mouth. Who are you? Oh, my name's Axel. Got it memorized? As he said his name, he straightened, puffing himself up a bit. Axel. Sora murmured the name to himself, as if that would etch it into his memory. This was a different feeling somehow from when he first met the hooded man. What could it mean? Good, you're a quick learner. Axel grinned and in a vicious motion spread both his arms wide. The next moment, he held an 8-pointed weapon in each hand. They were spiked chakrams. Whack! Donald held out his wand. So, Sora, now that we're getting to know each other better, don't you go and die on me now. Axel leaped at him so quickly it seemed he could fly. Whoa! Goofy went sprawling first. Why don't I show you how it's done? Axel swung his arms downward and flames rose up from the floor, a wall of fire. Look out! You'll get roasted! The flames chased the trio, cornering them. Come on! Here goes! Huh? Whoa! Whack! Ah-wee! Sora took Donald and Goofy by the hand and ran straight at the flames. They rolled on the floor and made it through. Oh, not bad. Axel smirked, and Sora rushed in, bringing the Keyblade down on him. Metal struck metal with a terrific clang as Axel blocked the Keyblade with his star-like blades. Donald! Sora called. Blizzard! Donald cast a spell, realizing that ice would put out fire. A little chunk of ice hit Axel in the face. Okay, my turn. Goofy held his shield out in front and ran for Axel, but Axel disappeared before his eyes. Yuck! He disappeared. Sora glanced around, but Axel was nowhere to be seen. Where'd he go? Beside him, suddenly, he heard a rushing sound. Whoa! He caught something in his hand. 3 cards. Sora! Donald and Goofy ran over to him. More cards? Said Donald. Sora flipped them over. Like the one that had opened the door to Traverse Town, each card had a picture. Hey, this was Alice's world, right? The card Goofy looked at showed a heart pattern and the garden of the Queen of Hearts. And these ones are Monstro and Agrabah. Of the other two cards, one showed a giant whale and the other a palace in the desert. Jiminy Cricket hopped out of Sora's pocket and nodded. They looked like the cards you used when you made Traverse Town. So, we're supposed to use these and keep going, said Sora. That's right. Axel's voice rang out to answer him. They turned, and Axel was standing at the top of the stairs. Axel? Did you really think I'd give up oh so easily after an introduction like that? He said mockingly. You are testing us, huh? Sora brandished the Keyblade at him again. And you pass. Congratulations. You're ready now. Ready to take on Castle Oblivion. Axel kept on looking down at them from the top of the stairs. You will need to follow your memories. Trust what you remember and seek what you forget. Then you'll find someone very special. Someone special? Goofy spoke up before Sora could. You mean King Mickey and Riku? You'll just have to give some more thought to who it is that's most important to you. Most important, Sora thought. Who's the most important to me? Our most precious memories lie so deep within our hearts that they're out of reach, said Axel. But I'm sure that you can find yours, Sora. Why me? Memories lying deep within my heart. Have I forgotten something important? You've lost sight of the light within the darkness, and it seemed that you've forgotten that you forgot. The light within the darkness. That was a phrase Sora knew. He heard it somewhere before. Right. No matter how deep the darkness, there will always be a light shining within. Kairi was the one who told me that. So what is the light for me? When I turned into a Heartless, the light I saw, that light was... You want me to give you a hint? At Axel's offer, Sora came back to the present and glared at him again. Sora, do you need it? Said Goofy. I'm gonna figure it out for myself. Sora angrily gripped the Keyblade. Axel laughed. Good answer. Just what I'd expected from the Keyblade Master. But be forewarned. When your sleeping memories awaken, you may no longer be who you are now. I'll become something I'm not? What's that supposed to mean? Sora demanded, but Axel had already vanished. Goofy lowered his shield looking at Sora. He disappeared. Sora kept staring at the top of the stairs where Axel had been standing, trying to mull it over. Sleeping memories. Donald lowered his wand too and looked up at Sora. Have you got any sleeping memories, Sora? I don't know, but do you remember everything that happened since you were born? Of course not. Donald folded his arms. Nobody remembers the things that happened when they were really little. Yeah. Sora stared down at the Keyblade in his hand. He could hardly remember anything about when he was small. Was that what sleeping memories meant? Or was it? Donald and Sora were both lost in thought. But you don't forget important things, Goofy said cheerfully. Jiminy Cricket, poking his head out from Sora's pocket, looked pensive too. What Axel said worries me, though. You may no longer be who you are. What could he have meant by that? I may no longer be me? Sora laughed a little, sounding stronger now. How can I be anyone else? Of course. Still, you can't be too careful. Jiminy ducked back into his pocket. As long as they didn't quite understand what Axel had meant, it did make sense to be cautious, as Jiminy said. I think so too, said Goofy. Feels like just about anything could happen here in Castle Oblivion. Castle Oblivion, Donald finished. Oh yeah, now I remember. We'll be okay. Whatever it is they're cooking up, we'll be able to handle it together, said Sora and looked again at where Axel had been standing. As long as the three of them were together, they'd be all right. They made it this far. Let's go. Sora started toward the next door. Right. Didn't we explore another creepy castle together? Goofy added, like he just remembered. The one with all those weird contraptions. What was that? Said Sora. They've been to lots of places on their journey, but was there a creepy castle? What was it called? Donald stopped in his tracks. He couldn't recall either. Gosh. Oh, it was Holly. Goofy tried with all his might to remember. Sora frowned. He must have heard it before somewhere, or had he? Hollow? Sorry, I can't remember, Goofy said, sounding disheartened. Donald jumped and snapped, well, quit goofing around. Goofy, are you sure you didn't make it up? Sora said doubtfully, facing the door again. Gee, I don't think so. Goofy tilted his head as if something didn't make sense. Anyway, which card should I use? Sora held out the 3 cards for Donald and Goofy to see. None of these cards had a creepy castle on them like the one Goofy described. Maybe he'd been mistaken after all. Why don't we go in the same order we went before, said Donald. Then, Sora stared at the cards. The world they'd gone to first after Trevor's Town was Alice's world. It's this one. In front of the door, he held up the card with the pictures of the hearts and the green gardens. The door began to glow in response, and they walked through it. A forest full of giant lily pads spread out before them. Quack! This is, that place where the flowers can talk, isn't it? Donald and Goofy looked at each other. The forest was thick with lily pads and flowers. They had definitely been here before, and just then they could see someone running full speed toward them. Hey, somebody's coming! Goofy squinted. The sweating figure held a pocket watch in its hand. It was a white rabbit with little spectacles on its nose. I'm late, I'm dreadfully awfully late. Hey, Goofy exclaimed. We met him before, right? Said Sora. Goofy nodded. They had, here in Alice's world, but what was this white rabbit doing? The Queen will roast me for dinner, cried the rabbit. If I'm late for the trial, it'll be off with my head next. What do you mean off with your head? Said Sora, but the rabbit didn't seem to hear at all and kept on running. Oh, my fur and whiskers! I'll never make it! With that, the rabbit disappeared into the foliage. The trio stared after him, then turned to one another. Didn't something like that happen before too? Sora cocked his head. They had followed a rabbit, he was sure of it, and then what? I feel like we saw that rabbit, but whack! We're sure to find out if we follow him, said Donald, waving his wand. All with his head, he said. For such a peaceful-looking place, it sounds pretty dangerous, Goofy said nervously. It doesn't look that peaceful either, Donald retorted. Huh? Sora and Goofy turned. Donald stood with his arms folded, looking at the Heartless blocking his way. Ack! Sora jumped. Fire! Donald waved his wand, and Sora and Goofy, taking the cue, jumped at the Heartless. Through the lotus forest, there was a well-kept garden. They walked under a heart-shaped gate of green hedges. And through the gate, there was quite a commotion. I wonder what everyone's doing here, said Sora. They peeped cautiously out from the shadow of the gate. Gosh, maybe it's that trial the White Rabbit was talking about. Just as Goofy spoke, a woman's booming voice rang through the garden. Alice, you do understand the charges, don't you? From up on a dais, a rotund lady, the Queen of Hearts, shouted at Alice, a blonde girl on a wooden stand. The White Rabbit was beside the Queen, and playing card soldiers surrounded them. There's Alice, Donald hissed. Of course I don't understand, said Alice, staring back at the Queen of Hearts. I've done nothing wrong. Feigning ignorance, dear, the Queen of Hearts waved her heart-shaped fan. You are charged with aiding the creatures called Heartless who threatened my domain. So the Heartless were causing trouble in this world too. Fiddlesticks, where's the evidence? Alice demanded. The evidence is... The Queen of Hearts fell silent a moment, as if she was trying to come up with evidence on the spot. Then she spat. The evidence is I forgot. That's the evidence, because you, Alice, are the one who stole my memory. That's crazy. How can the fact that she forgot the evidence be evidence? Donald stomped his feet. We can't rid the kingdom of Heartless until we get Her Majesty's memory back, the White Rabbit added. This is a serious crime. That's completely unfair, Alice cried. So what if you're a queen? I won't be to blame just because you can't remember things. Such insolence. You're speaking to the Queen of Hearts, the Queen bellowed, and to think... I might have let you go if you had just returned what you stole and apologized straight away. What a brazen thief! Who's the brazen one? Sora blurted and glared at her. The court has reached a verdict, the Queen of Hearts declared. Off with her head! Off with her head just because the Queen couldn't remember? Sora dashed out of the shadows to stand in the middle of the court, glaring at the tyrannical Queen. Hold it! This trial is a farce! You have to investigate, not just arrest innocent people. She stared round-eyed at Sora's sudden appearance and her mouth opened wide to shout. What is the meaning of this? How dare you suggest Alice didn't steal my memory? I suppose you know who the real culprit is then. Huh? Sora faltered. Behind him, Donald and Goofy exchanged nervous glances. Speak, or it's off with all of your heads. Now, out with it. Who's the thief? What could he say that would help Alice? Sora's mind raced. I'm the thief. The Queen of Hearts and Goofy both jumped up in surprise. Say that again? Gosh, really? Of course not, Sora whispered, but what else am I supposed to say? Then he turned back and winked at the defendants. Run for it, Alice! The Queen of Hearts shouted over him. Cards! Seize them all! A squad of heart playing card soldiers rushed at the trio. Whack! This is all because you got to go and say something screwy, Donald complained, blocking a playing card soldier's spear with his wand. It was the only thing I could think of. Sora swung the keyblade at a spade soldier. Goofy seemed to be fighting with all his might, too. Well, you shouldn't tell lies. If I didn't lie about it, Alice would have lost her head. Sora and Donald were shouting at each other as they attacked the playing card soldiers. Come on, you guys. This is no time to be fighting, Goofy called, trying to meditate. Okay. Donald and Sora both spoke at once and looked at each other, readying wand and keyblade. Yarg! Fire! The heart soldiers all fell to the ground. Whew! Donald and Sora caught their breath as Goofy glanced from side to side. Huh? Where's Alice? Said Donald. Looks like she escaped. Sora breathed a sigh of relief. But perhaps she did, the Queen of Hearts shouted, but you won't. Donald jumped back. I think we've been trumped. At the Queen's command, more playing card soldiers began to chase them. Run! The trio fled through the heart-shaped hedge gate and ducked into the lotus forest. In that strange forest, there were plenty of places to hide. Are they gone? Yep, all gone, Donald replied, staring out of the forest from the shadows of the foliage. Sora jumped back down from a lily pad, still looking around nervously. This kind of thing happened before, didn't it? Goofy remarked. Sora tilted his head, thinking. It did? I think so. Or am I making it up? We didn't have to hide before, said Donald. Goofy folded his arms. Oh, Anyway, you've got to find Alice. Sora went farther into the forest. Yeah, after all, didn't she help us in that castle? What castle? Sora asked. You know, the princesses? Alice isn't a princess, said Donald. She was a normal girl, not royalty. Yeah, but it was kind of different. Goofy wasn't sure how to explain it. Jasmine was there, and Belle. We won't forget Jasmine or Belle or Alice either, Sora replied, as if Goofy were only stating the obvious. There were some other princesses too, weren't there? Now Donald frowned too. Cinderella and Snow White and Aurora, right? Said Sora. Donald nodded. Yeah, and along with Kairi, there were 7 princesses. Huh? Wait, Alice was a princess too? Sora got confused at what he was saying. And the castle, there was a castle. We didn't go to any castles. Oh, gosh, maybe I did make it up. Goofy seemed to be getting more and more uncertain now that Sora was denying the existence of the castle. Never mind that. We have to find Alice before the Heartless get her. Come on! Sora took off running. Goofy was still lost in thought. Donald grabbed him by the arm and they followed Sora. Alice! She was hiding deep in the lotus forest. Things got a little crazy back there, said Sora, but at least you're okay. Alice looked at him uneasily. I don't mean to be ungrateful, but was that true, what you said? Are you the thief? Course not. Why would I steal the Queen's memory? It was only a lie he told on the spur of the moment. Goofy nodded. Yep, Sora only said that because he wanted to show off, Donald interrupted. I was not trying to show off, Sora shot back. Alice giggled. Is that right? Well, you saved me all the same. Thank you, Sora. You know my name, huh, Alice? Sora looked a little bit confused. Oh, why, so I do, even though we've never met. Yeah, so Alice wasn't the real Alice either. Okay, so what's my name? Donald asked her. Is it Donald? Bingo! He jumped up happily. How very strange. And you're Goofy, aren't you? Right. Yuck! Goofy laughed. And we know you're Alice, too. Perhaps it's because this is such a mysterious place? Alice wondered. Yeah, maybe that's it, said Sora. And just then, a cat appeared in the midst of the lotus forest. Feeling better after that mad dash, are we? It's a Cheshire Cat. They looked up at the cat floating above a lily pad. Before, too, the Cheshire Cat had sent them running in circles with his riddles. Before, Sora thought, when was it? What's the matter, Sora? Asked Goofy, peering anxiously at him. Oh, nothing. The Cheshire Cat chuckled. It seems you're having quite a time, or are you out of time? After all, you're not out of the woods yet. The Queen of Hearts is a stickler for justice. She won't forget you till she remembers, and she won't stop pounding you till you get her memory back. The Queen of Hearts certainly did seem stubborn, but how could they get someone else's memory back? It was hard enough to remember things you forgot yourself, like the things that happened when you were very young. Did she forget because she remembers? Did she remember that she forgot? The cat mused. Not that it matters much. I don't know. I think we ought to just stay away from her, Sora said, deep in thought. Jiminy Cricket hopped out of his pocket. But Sora, what about Alice? If the Queen catches her again, it's off with, well, you know. Of course, Jiminy was right. If they left now, the Queen would just be chasing Alice around some more. Alice would end up on trial again, and the Queen would yell, off with her head. Then I guess we better do something about the Queen, Sora sighed. You should do something, but you don't have to do anything. The Cheshire Cat's head floated away from his body. Huh? The cat wasn't making much sense. If you can't remember something, it's like it never happened, said the cat. Likewise, if something never happened, you can't remember it. Try too hard to remember, and your memory might lie to you. Lie? Try too hard to remember, and your memory might lie. But how could memories be lies? Maybe, if a person couldn't remember something and somebody lied to them about it, then they might believe that was true. Like that time. When Sora had turned into a Heartless, he couldn't remember it very well. All he really knew was that Kairi had saved him. But he only believed that because when he got his body back, Kairi had been holding him. What if it had really been someone else who saved him? That's all I can say, the Cheshire Cat told him. The rest is for you to figure out. With that, the cat floated up and disappeared. He said such funny things just like always, said Goofy, staring up after him. Alice was looking the same way. I think it made a little bit of sense, though. What do you mean? Said Sora. Well, we won't know until we try. Alice smiled at him. At any rate, we ought to find who actually stole the Queen's memory. The trio nodded, and they headed farther into the Lotus Forest. Can you climb? Asked Sora. I'll be all right, said Alice. Sora and Donald lifted Alice up onto a lily pad, and they climbed higher and higher. My goodness, we're high up. The Heartless won't come up here, though, said Goofy, taking Alice's hand. Heartless, there were so many of them, even in the forest. You didn't get hurt, did ya? They didn't seem to be interested in coming after me. Oh, there! Over that way is a sort of passageway. Alice pointed to a large clump of bushes hiding a hole just big enough to crawl through. They went through the hole, or fell through it, and on the other side was a perfectly normal-looking room with a heating stove. Gosh, what a sudden change of scenery! Goofy sat on the sofa. Did we come here before, too? Yeah, we did. Sora nodded and looked around the room. There had been a talking doorknob and potions to drink that made them bigger or smaller, and they had been in the room upside down, too. And they had fought a big Heartless here. What sort of Heartless was it? Is there anything in here? Donald paced around. Suddenly, the door at the back of the room opened with a bang. There you are. Thought you'd seen the last of me, did you? It was the Queen of Hearts surrounded by playing card soldiers. Uh-oh. The game is up, scoundrels. For stealing my memory, I sentence you to... A weird flash of light interrupted the Queen. What was that? Cried Sora. I sentence you... Sentence? After that light, there seemed to be something wrong with the Queen. Gosh, what's wrong with her? Goofy stared with his head cocked. Oh, what's going on? Where am I? The Queen mumbled. Huh? Donald stared too. She was always giving orders with such ferocity. Maybe there was definitely something off. What in the world am I doing? The queen waved her fan about. Confound it, I can't remember. What could have happened to her? Sora whispered. Maybe someone swiped her memory again? Goofy replied. The weird light filled the room again. Look out! Something's coming! Alice cried, and just as she did, a huge heartless fell from the ceiling. It had long arms and a flat face that seemed to be made up of heads stacked on top of each other. The Trickmaster. This is what stole the queen's memory? Sora stood ready with the keyblade. Help! The queen and the playing card soldiers ran around in a panic. Goofy, take care of Alice, called Sora. He remembered. With this heartless, they had to attack its body or its head. Donald, you hit it with magic and get it to stop moving. Got it. Blizzard. Donald's magic exploded at the Trickmaster's feet. Goofy took Alice's hand in the meantime and hid with her behind the sofa. Sora leaped up high and dealt the Trickmaster's body a heavy blow. It started to fling its arms around, knocking Sora and Donald back. Whoa! Whack! Are you fellas all right? Goofy gave them healing potions. You gotta jump to dodge it. Was that how he did it? Sora got up and readied the Keyblade again, and this time jumped over the Trickmaster's flailing arms. Then Sora jumped up onto the table and brought the Keyblade down hard on its head. He felt the impact in his arms. The Trickmaster was engulfed in light and it disappeared. You did it! Alice jumped out from behind the sofa and threw her arms around Sora. You there, all of you, the Queen bellowed, quashing the celebration. What is the meaning of this? Where did that creature come from? Well, gee, that's a good question. Sora scratched his head. Where did Heartless come from? Heartless were heartless, but they still didn't quite understand what the Heartless really were. So, you refuse to answer? Hiding something, are you? The Queen of Hearts pointed her fan at them. They're plotting against us. Seize them. But Alice stepped forward. Please, Your Majesty, wait. It was you who commanded us to destroy that creature. Huh? Sora stared at her. Your Majesty, in her prudence, didn't completely trust us at first. And so, at Your Majesty's command, we fought that thing to prove ourselves. Isn't that right, Sora? Alice turned just enough to give Sora a wink. We did? We did. Your Majesty. Realizing Alice's trick, Sora couldn't help but grin. I told you to do that? The Queen fumbled. But, Your Majesty, don't you remember? Said Alice with a polite smile. Don't be ridiculous. I never forget anything. Of course I gave the command. You did splendidly. The Queen of Hearts set her jaw as she deigned to praise them. That's enough of this place, then. She turned and swept out, the playing card soldiers marching behind her. Oh dear, that was close. Alice turned back to the trio, delicately wiping her brow. Wait to improvise. I never would have thought of that, said Sora. He hadn't imagined that Alice would be the one to save them with a trick. But the Cheshire Cat said as much after all. Try too hard to remember, and your memory might lie to you. The Queen of Hearts would never admit that she forgot. So instead, she remembered something that didn't happen at all. She ended up fooling herself. Something that didn't happen. A troubled look came over Sora's face. The world they were in was created out of Sora's memories, but he didn't remember everything that had happened in perfect detail. What if he couldn't trust his memories? What is it, Sora? Said Alice, worried for him. Nothing. Well, I guess you'll be safe now, and the Queen won't give us any more trouble, Goofy added proudly. After all, we got rid of the Heartless, just like she commanded. Don't tell me you've been fooled too, Donald scolded. Huh? But she did command. Huh? Gosh, didn't she? Goofy folded his arms, thinking hard. Alice began to laugh, and then Sora caught it, and Donald and Goofy joined in. But you have to go, don't you? Said Alice. Yeah. Sora turned, and there was only a normal door where the talking doorknob had been. Thank you so very much, Alice said sincerely and curtsied to them. Just like a princess, Donald exclaimed. Alice laughed quietly. You are a princess, Goofy crowed. A princess? Whatever do you mean? Alice tilted her head. Oh, it's nothing, said Sora. Come on, Donald, Goofy, let's go. Do be careful, Sora. And the trio walked through the door.